From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Thursday, March the 27th, 2025. Missiles were once again fired today at Israel from Yemen, triggering red alert sirens in several parts of the country, including in Jerusalem and central Israel, sending Israelis to bomb shelters and safe rooms. The IDF said both missiles were intercepted before they crossed into the country's territory. The Houthis claimed responsibility for the attack. Israel's Magen David Adom paramedics said there were no reports of casualties, though they did receive calls for anxiety symptoms and people injured while seeking shelter. The IDF and Israel's security agency, the Shin Bet, said today that they eliminated the spokesman for the Hamas terrorist organization in an airstrike in northern Gaza last night. They said he served as one of Hamas's main instigators and also acted as a terrorist in the organization's military wing, that he systematically used the media for propaganda purposes, psychological terrorism, and the dissemination of false information about the activities of Hamas in Gaza and beyond, that he incited terrorist acts and promoted the organization's murderous narrative aimed at destroying the state of Israel. IDF troops operating in southern Gaza today also confiscated and destroyed a number of weapons, including a 25-barrel rocket launcher discovered in the Rafah area. And in Lebanon, the IDF said it eliminated a battalion commander for terror group Hezbollah's Radwan force, saying throughout the war and in recent months, he advanced and directed numerous terror attacks against Israeli civilians and IDF troops. Well, legislation that changes the composition of Israel's Judicial Selection Committee passed in the Knesset this morning, giving more political power over the judicial appointments process in the country. Coalition lawmakers passed the bill 67-1. Opposition lawmakers walked out before the vote in protest. The legislation will only come into effect in the next Knesset, after Israel's next general election, set right now for October of next year. A number of petitions have already been filed against the law, which is seen by many as highly controversial, and thousands of people rallied outside the Knesset last night to protest the legislation that critics fear will cause damage to Israel's democracy. Released Israeli hostages and family members of those still held hostage in Gaza gave testimony yesterday in Germany to the Bundestag, the German parliament, urging the international community to do everything possible to bring all of the hostages home. The group also met and shared their stories personally with German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier, who reassured them that the release of the hostages remains a top priority for Germany. The 59 hostages still being held by terror group Hamas in Gaza have now been captive for 538 days. Well, the Jewish Federations of North America and Taglit, Birthright Israel, announced a strategic partnership yesterday to grow, it said, the number of global Jewish community members that travel to Israel to volunteer at this critical time. The new joint initiative is open to Jewish adults aged 18 to 50 who are interested in strengthening Israel, it said, through hands-on volunteer work, and offers significant assistance to cover costs. Birthright Chair Josh Nash said this initiative, which began as a response to our community's urgent desire to support Israel's recovery after October the 7th, has grown into a major pillar of Birthright Israel's work. Federation Board Chair Jonah Platt said pairing Birthright Israel's deep expertise in running meaningful educational trips with Jewish Federation communities' deep relationships and partnerships, including over 500 Israeli non-governmental organizations that have received emergency support since October the 7th, will allow us to help Israel rebuild in significant ways through new volunteer experiences. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Thursday, March the 27th. At 8 o'clock, Jonah Platt sits with actress and comedian Tiffany Haddish, who discovered her Jewish roots later in life, for a discussion on Jewish identity, Israel activism, and more. At 9, it's Charles Cohen on L'chaim. At 10, David Harris speaks with Rabbi Ammiel Hirsch. At 10:30, an encore of the news. And coming up next, it's the closing session of the Anti-Defamation League's 2025 Never Is Now conference, featuring Hollywood actors Gadot and David Schwimmer, plus tennis legend Billie Jean King and AI expert Ray Kurzweil, and more. And that's the JBS News Update for Thursday, March the 27th, 2025. I'm Teisha Bader. Am Yisrael Chai.